Welcome, Craig Kilborn. He's given me a lot of names that I can introduce him by, but I've only remembered a couple. So I'm going to say Lord Kilby, Craig Kilborn. I am so excited to have you on Me Time. I am excited for everyone to hear, I think, what an expert on Me Time you actually are. But so I did Craig's podcast, The Life Gorgeous.
Oh, by the way, it
Yeah.
comes out, I don't know when this airs. It comes out Tuesday, October 17th. I called you actress and martini lover. I hope that's okay.
Why wouldn't that be okay?
Well, I didn't know if we wanted to promote that you
All
really
truth.
like martinis and drink
Love.
by
I
yourself at
love.
bars and
Well, I feel like you kind of brought this up in our podcast. Anyway, I think it's out this week, which is the 17th, which is tomorrow, the Tuesday. So this will be out Friday.
okay.
So if you haven't listened, go listen to the episode. Wow, we're just like crashing. We're both each other's guests this week on our
We're
podcast. I love it.
overlapping. It's called The Life Gorgeous on the YouTube channel and Spotify, Apple, everywhere. iHeart. By the way, we were
Oh,
supposed to
yeah.
do this in person. What happened, young
I
lady?
know. So I look, and an abundance of caution, are out of an abundance of caution. I have for the last 2 days had. I'm feeling better right now, but I've had a little cold. I wanted to take a couple of COVID tests just to be like, I don't have COVID, so let's go. And then I thought, you know what? I think I'm fine, but I'm definitely something's going on. And I was like, I would appreciate it if I were going to do someone's podcast and they showed up with a little cold and they were like, it's not COVID, so it's fine. And we're going to sit in a windowless room in a studio for a little while. I would have appreciated a heads up and maybe a reworking around that. So that's why I did it.
Three things I want to comment on. First of all, thank you for being so responsible. I actually have a big week. I have to go to dinner with an old friend this week to a very special place. So it's Bicyclette. It's on Pico, and it's the owners of it's Walter Mansky, and I think Sean, who's the bartender and the beverage manager for all of Walter Mansky's restaurants. I think he kind of owns it too, but he doesn't. But he's that important to me, Sean. So I'm going there.
Can we ask Sean's last name? I feel like I know a few of
Linklater.
these
I believe it's pronounced Linklater.
Okay.
And I'm going there, and then I have to go down to Manhattan Beach and be a guest on Ryan Russillo's podcast. He's on The Ringer. So it's a full week, and I'm also recording my own podcast this week. So thank you for being responsible.
I love getting an itinerary. I think this is cool. I like knowing your week and what you're doing.
Well, my other joke is, did you get a little excited seeing Craigers in person and then get a little run down and nervous? I'm wondering how you got the cold. That happens to people. And number three, you still look beautiful, even though you're under the weather.
Yes. Oh, thank you. You look fantastic too. Although I am disappointed I'm not seeing the linen blazer. I think it was the pressure around. So we sent several emails back and forth, and there was just a lot of discussion around what you were going to wear, which then made me feel nervous about what I was going to wear. And I spent all day Saturday trying to put something together. And I woke up yesterday with a cold because it really look, I wanted to show up. Once you said the blazer, once you said you were taking the time to figure out what to wear, I was like, all right, well, I'm nervous. I wasn't nervous before.
Right.
And I think it made me brought on a.
We were supposed to tape in person at the Cloud 10 studios at around 1:00. I had a late lunch plan for us, and then we're going to transition around 4-ish to early martinis.
That can all still happen.
It's all
a different day.
But I think you got a little nervous, and I sometimes wonder, this is my mahogany paneled den. You have a kind of a plain white background with a plastic plant. This is
a real plant. It is called a Ficus triangularia. You'll appreciate this. Mr. appreciates nice things and the time to get the things that you want and in your space. So when I did your podcast, you gave me a whole blank padded wall comment. I was like, no, I know. And I was looking for the perfect plant. And I'm not done. Some art will go here.
Right.
But I went to Sunset Nursery and in Silver Lake, by the way, this place is incredible. And I saw a couple people walking out with this tree plant thing, and I lost my mind. I was like,
Yeah.
"That's it. That's the tree. That's what I want. That's what's got. It's got to go there." Then, of course, and the guy was like, "Yeah, they're over there." So I went, no more, and they had to order one. They special ordered it, and it took 2 weeks, and it is very real.
Oh, good.
And
Good.
so, continue. What about
Well,
your
I was
mahogany
just
paneled
saying,
room?
I was wondering if my background, which is my mahogany panel den with my
Mm.
conquistador lamp, if it's intimidating to people, if it's intimidating to you.
I was going to
Um,
ask you about it. Well, since we're on so this podcast is called Me Time,
mhm.
and it wanders all over the place on what that means.
No. No.
No, I feel like after I did the Life Gorgeous, I was like, this person is Craig is kind of, I think, an expert on me time. You described a moment of like putting on silk pajamas to, yeah, like a whole eve. You were like, did I go too far? I'm like, no, you were describing exactly what I'm talking about when it comes
Yeah.
to me time and taking care of ourselves. When I saw your office, I feel like it's very, or you like panned over for a second to show us some light, and I'm curious what like the choices of the mahogany, the sort of, it feels very library cigar
Mhm.
loungy to me.
Yes.
Like, does that sort of fit your martini vibe? Is this your me time space?
Yeah, and I think of me time as self-absorbed, which is I'm the king of that, as long as you make fun of it, and I've been,
Right,
Craig has been
right,
making fun of himself since 2nd grade. Craig has been using 3rd person since
right.
2nd grade.
I get this feeling like when you were talking and we talked about martinis, we talked about eating alone, we talked about staying at bars alone. I was like, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, and taking care of ourselves, because like
Mhm.
those are the moments that I feel connected to myself. So like, and I need those to recharge more maybe than most. But I feel like you're very similar. Like
Yeah.
I think talked a lot about this on, yeah.
Yeah, it's, there was a I don't remember the quote, but there was a broadcaster named Jane Pauley, and she's married to the
I love
guy
Jane
Gary
Pauley.
Trudeau, who writes Doonesbury. And she said something to the effect that he never really gets down. And I never really get down. And she said something to the effect that he says, whenever you have an issue, just get into your creative mind and think positive thoughts and think about things that are. And I'm just grateful for 8 hours of sleep. This is my mahogany panel den. It's got burlwood inlay. It's got pocket doors. It's a 1923 house. It has a big 65-inch screen over here. Uh,
Cool.
it's got
Did you design this room or did it come
great
this way?
Great question.
Oh, I know
Great
you're
question.
well, you put in the side chat over here, ask about the thing. So I'm joking. I'm
I was
joking.
like, "What? Did I?"
No.
Um, so, no, I turned it was I guess it was potentially a 3rd bedroom, and I turned it into, I had the paneling put in, to look like it was from the 1920s,
Oh,
and,
cool.
I have, can't see, but I have, these burgundy drapes. And then the weird thing is you can't see it at all, but it has on the back wall, it has, oh, maybe you can see a little bit. Between the drapes is, it's a silk fabric with it's padded. So the
I see
back
it.
wall is padded with silk damask, material that's pretty dynamic. And, this is my sanctuary. It bothers me a little bit that I have my equipment here, so I don't break it down, so I don't spend as much
Mm.
time drinking by myself and watching old movies. I do it on the iPad, etc. But yeah, I think
Oh,
along with my club chair in my living room, this is a nice place to sit and think and listen to my music and dream and all those wonderful things.
I love that. I feel like we have to have that space. It's so interesting. I'm in my office right now, and it's too messy at the moment, but if I were to flip it around, this is where I would like paint and I'd spend time. And I think having a creative space is very, very important. It's also interesting because it's where I record, and I've had the same thing where I'm like, I'm not going to break down the equipment every time, but it does sort of take that having all this electronic equipment and cords and things
Yeah,
around takes a little bit of that like special magic out of it, just a little bit. But it's interesting that you watch your movies now on an iPad.
I know.
Uh, that is, I would not have guessed that. I would, because I feel
Yeah,
like you're a
I
ritual
well, I
oriented
do it in
person. Yeah.
bed. So
Uh,
I have a longtime, partner, Princess Cherry, and she's, actually an interior designer. But she thinks I have good taste because I do, but she has great taste. She's also a costume designer, and this kinda makes me laugh. I'm gonna tell you, you're a little too young, but some women go crazy over this. She's a costume designer for Rod Stewart and his band.
oh, stop it.
So
How
a lot of women,
fun.
a lot of women, older than you worship Rod Stewart, just to let you know.
I worship Rod Stewart. What are you talking about? I
Right,
mean, 23-year-olds can love Rod Stewart too, Craig. Come on.
right. So
Yeah.
so so I get to bed early, and we watch it on an iPad right in front of me, but when it's a special movie, like, there's a movie called Interstellar, which is a
Oh,
Christopher Nolan
yeah.
movie.
Of
Yeah, so
course.
I watched it in the den where I have surround sound, and they went through the wormhole. My entire den and the couch was shaking. I mean, it was intense. So,
Oh,
with
it's so
special
cool.
movies, I'll break down the equipment
Yeah.
and watch movies in my den, yeah,
Yeah, that
obviously,
deserve that, like,
Yes,
the only way to watch them, yeah.
yes,
You know what I talked about on your podcast, and I would like for you to watch in that room, is
yes.
Arrival.
Oh, I was surprised at how highly rated that was, so that's
Yeah.
you've taught me something. You've
Mm,
taught me more than something.
I hope
I
so,
just
Craig.
think I don't know how many me time podcasts you've done, but
I
the
don't
thing
either.
that you said on my podcast that just leaped out was that you, as a woman, can go have dinner by yourself at the bar and thoroughly enjoy yourself, and
That's my
I
me
can do
time.
that as a
Yeah,
guy, but I didn't know you could do that. I think that's
yeah.
amazing.
Thanks. That's a well, this is where this podcast kind of came from. Was a lot of times in my life, people, like, if I say I'm taking a trip or I'm going out to eat, my friends will literally say, "Is this a Maggie time trip, or is
Right,
someone going with you? Or are you
right,
going, are you just going to have a Maggie night? Or
right.
are you," because it is something I've done. I mean, I've traveled alone for a long time. I have no problem eating alone. I love people too, but I'm just saying, like, it's a not a thing for me to do that. Yeah.
How long have you been dining by yourself? Is that something in the last 5 years, or did you do it in your late 20s? I mean, again, whatever age. I know you're youthful, but
You mean just a couple years ago in my late 20s, I discovered that no, this is a funny, dumb joke that we'll keep doing because I like it. But I think for me, I love that the interview switched, by the way. You're like,
well, I was just wondering about that. No, I
um,
was
no, I feel like, let's see. I think that because I have traveled alone, I'll take little Maggie trips. They started small as like just kind of staycation, like a weekend away here or there. That I'm like, I'm not going to stay in my room and eat. I'm going to go, have a great meal somewhere and I think it just became something that I not only that uh, I got comfortable with, that I look forward to. Like,
right,
I actually enjoy a night where I can just treat myself and
right.
yeah.
So you're sitting at the bar. I know that you have favorite spots, but
Yeah.
are you comfortable going? Can you go to a bar and have dinner at a place you've never been to before?
Yeah.
Oh
If
yeah,
there's a bar, like, I don't enjoy sitting at a table
correct,
alone. Yeah.
correct.
But I do love, yeah. I'll if there's an open spot, sure. And I will say I have left some places. I've sat, maybe had a drink or ordered a drink and been like, this isn't the vibe.
Good. I like
This
that.
doesn't feel
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
That
So I'm pretty like aware. It's interesting. I can be almost more aware of that when I'm alone. Like, I can really get in touch with, like, now we're getting in. This is the point of the podcast though, is like, well, how do I want to feel? If this is a night I get to enjoy by myself, then I want to, like, I want to have the optimal experience. And what does that look like tonight? And sometimes it's like cozy and quiet and the place I've always been. And other times it's like, man, I really want a good piece of fish somewhere. And I hear this place is great and I'll go. Most likely though, I'm going to go to a place I've been to before.
right. Yeah,
But
that's what
if I'm
yeah,
traveling though,
yeah.
that's completely different. Then it's all new. So, yeah.
I'm gonna let you ask another question. I just have one more on this is, well, how
Yeah.
important are the bartenders in the conversation with the bartender?
It depends. It depends on what mood I'm in. Sometimes, ugh, I'm moody. Sometimes I'm open to a little back and forth, but for the most part, a little chit chat is good for me. With the if there's with the bartender, but for the most part, I'm going, with the exception of a few times, I'm going to probably do a crossword puzzle,
Okay,
maybe get some work done,
I
maybe
didn't. I
just
okay.
yeah. But
So
but
yeah.
that is important though. Like I had a place I used to go to in Silver Lake called Covell
Hmm.
that is a wine bar. Yeah, they have
I know that one. Yep.
yeah, great wines. And those bartenders, I feel like because I've gone there for so long, 12 years now since it opened. I think I went like the weekend it opened. Um that conversation is just a part of it.
Hmm.
So I don't mind the check-in and like then they
Yeah,
go do what they got to do in the check-in and come back. And yeah, you know what? I'm more open to that than I'm making it sound.
yeah.
But it's
I
not as important. That's what you
so
said.
I don't. I was gonna ask if because I don't do this. If you brought a book, but you bring a
Mm.
crossword, I've never done that. So I go in there. I have my phone. I can check scores. I can, follow a game, but it's there to sit in my blazer. So I like wearing vests, have a
Mhm.
martini made. If the guy is interesting, I'll chat with him a little
Mhm.
bit and but just take it in. And I
Yeah.
think I told you one of the jokes I like to do. There was a place I used to go to, but sadly a lot of them closed down. Some of these restaurants, but they would, play in the pipe in the music. They have a music. They have the speakers and they
Mhm.
have a playlist. And then I would say to the bartender, "Put on Careless Whisper. I just wanna see." And the guy goes, "Yeah, okay, I'll do that, I'll do that." And then I just wanna see how everyone
Everybody
reacts. It kinda
reacts.
everyone brings it down. Everyone
Careless Whispers are a really good mood changing
right.
song. It's like the perfect bullseye for that. Okay. So
Back to
back
you.
on you and your me time. So I usually start this, I mean, we're well into it now, but I usually start this by like sort of asking how you discovered about yourself, like how you decided or discovered I need me time. I take my me time. I will, and not only that, like it doesn't sound to me like you reach out to people and then you're like, well, no one's available tonight. I'll go alone. It sounds to me like you're just like, no, my plan is to go alone. My preference is to go and have some time.
Yes.
So, and we're not just talking about restaurants and martinis and all of that. We're talking about this sort of, what I try to get to on this podcast is the experience of doing something that makes you feel connected to yourself however you want to feel. If it's you just want to unwind, great. But if you want to like tap into like a little spirit, like you talked about dreaming, you talked about your house, we've talked about old movies, we've talked about what it feels like to hold a martini, or like you put on a blazer to go out, like these kinds of things. So I want to go back to like where and how you discovered and found these things about yourself that you now treat yourself to. It sounds like on the regular, and I love that. I think we're similar this way.
Yeah. So, I've always had, an imagination. I was the youngest of 3 kids. Instead of hanging out with my peers who listened to white rock and roll, I listened to Sinatra, Nat King
Mm,
Cole, Miles
mhm,
Davis. My dad was very clever, did crossword puzzles every morning and flew through them. I had an older
mm,
brother who was more muscular, more introverted, the lone valedictorian of his graduating class of 500. He's a software engineer and he likes science fiction. He's Spock-like and he's proud of that. Not a lot of emotion from Chris
mm.
and wonderful
Cool.
muscular calves. So I'm giving you details. So
I
but I
like
was
it.
always very funny. My dad was funny, and so I would when I say the word dream, you know, part of it was listening to my music, before I played a high school, before basketball games. You're at home, and I actually had it on the stereo. I had the speakers on. I'd be in the living room. Everyone would be elsewhere, and I would listen to Barry White, Let the Music Play, or some upbeat songs to get me going, and I would envision, uh, making a nice pass. I was clever
Mm,
passing and scoring, but I think music, is something that helps me. I know that as I jump around here, Cameron Crowe will write to music. He'll listen to music and he'll write. Well, that happens to me. I'll sit in my distressed leather club chair in my living room with a silk robe, coffee. This is in the morning, and
mhm.
usually put on Bill Evans, which is a great piano player, played with Miles Davis. Very soothing, relaxing, and
I love that.
you start to write and you start to come up with ideas. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
and I also do that when my only exercise is hiking or walking, and I have been wearing headphones and sometimes AirPods, but now I wear these headphones when I walk and I listen to music. And it's very funny because I walk through. I do tell people on my Instagram I live in Hancock Park, but it's a big area. But I
Mhm.
walk through it, and some of the music is uh, moving and poignant. And I'll be walking, and I'll go, "This is great. Life is great." And I'll put my finger up like Larry Bird after he just made a shot, and I'll extend my hand as I'm walking through Hancock Park, and I feel alive and electric. And I just think it's a euphoria when you hear music and you walk. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. No,
A lot to
I'm
unpack there, Maggie.
no, this is what I'm talking about, Craig. This is what I like to hear. Can I ask you though about this? So
Yeah.
we're holding our hand up and pointing in the air for the people who are not watching the YouTube of this, but I'm gonna get real silly with you for a minute because I feel like I do these things as well. I'm totally relating to everything you're saying, by the way. The music, the walking. I
Mhm.
do think there is something in the right and left of like walking, music,
Mhm.
listening, rhythm, all of it. But like, so when you put your hand up, do you say anything? Do you imagine anything? Is it like a magnet or a lightning rod? Or is there anything what is the significance of that?
Um,
That makes
well,
yeah.
Larry Bird,
Oh, because that's why he did it.
well, I think it's on my Instagram, I do a thing a lot. People go, "What is that? Where is that from?" And I spin. I put my arms out in my sport coat and I spin around. And
Mhm.
I've done that a few times. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but you have to go deep in my Instagram. You'll see me
Okay, I
spinning.
will.
You see
Tell
me
me about the
spinning.
spinning, though. I wanna know about all of this.
So the it's exalting is what I say. It's just like it's like when you see somebody, you might go, you put your hands up. So Larry was in the 3-point contest and he had to make the last one and he shot it and released it and then he pointed in the air like he knew it was going to go in, you know,
Yeah.
and he walked away uh, and extended his arm and it's just an exalting for me. And I
Okay.
do have little dreams of small projects I'm working on and I just think about it. It's positive energy. So that's what that is.
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of with you on so we've talked about on me time a lot of several people have talked about, whether training or working out or like that's also that can be like getting in your body and feeling all of that. That's it for a lot of people. For me, I'm with you on hiking and walking. I do these epic walks in LA where I
How
will
tell me.
how epic. I mean, I've walked from, Hollywood to downtown before.
Ooh.
I will
Now how many
do
miles? Do you know how many miles that is or no?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's a lot of hours.
Okay.
But like it's actually not that many miles. That's what's really interesting. We
Okay.
think of it that way. It's just that LA is like we think of it as so spread out and it is. But when you really break it down, if you're going to run on the treadmill or walk for an hour or two or hike, you could probably walk from here to deep west. And when I say here, I'm in Hollywood, deep West Hollywood, or on your way to Beverly Hills or whatever. So I love
Yeah.
doing that and listening to music and taking in the city. And if I want to stop anywhere or like pop in someplace, that's like if I have the time, that's one of my favorite things to do. But yes, tell me, hand raised.
I just when you talk about these epic walks, I've done that also. And
No.
sometimes I used to live in the Hollywood Hills behind the Chateau Marmont, so I would take my car down to Beverly Hills to have it worked on, and I would walk all the way back, and I just because I wanna get 5 or 6 miles in or whatever it is.
It
Eh
satisfies a lot of things. Like you get your
right.
workout in, you get your steps in, but you can also
So
That's
listen,
the
tell me,
dream.
here's a weird memory, but a few years back, in the last probably 8 years, I had a friend from visiting from New York, and I don't celebrate New Year's Eve, but he was in town and he said, "Let's have dinner at, the Chateau Marmont." So, we had dinner there, and then we were done. Now I was wearing a sport coat and a dress shirt and, some type of slacks. I don't know if they're dungarees or if they're khakis, I don't remember. I'm sorry, I don't remember everything. But I have these Armani loafers, these brown Armani loafers that are kinda
Mhm.
classic, but they're Armani, so they're a little stylish, with the great rubber sole, but you can't really tell that's rubber. And I walked all the way. I was gonna take a Uber home, but I said, "I don't wanna walk. I have a little buzz. I wanna walk and just" you know? And it was probably, 10:30 or 11 PM. And I walked all the way to the Larchmont area from the chateau, 'cause I live in that
Wow.
area in the Hancock
Yeah.
Park, so
Yeah.
that was a nice walk.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you touched on something that I actually haven't talked about a lot on here, but I think we share a little. I think we're similar around this whole idea of me time and rituals. I mean, bringing it back to me time because that's the name of the podcast. But that this idea of dreaming, um,
Mm.
and we're meaning like waking dreaming, but dreaming of like, so you talk about coffee, you talk about your silk pajamas, like you're not in sweatpants,
No.
you're not in a t-shirt.
No.
Why?
Well, there are times where I will do that, but if I'm gonna drink at home, I get dressed up.
I
Um,
love this
I
so
know, I
much.
know.
I'm
It's
so
pretty cool.
ritualistic around things too. This is
Yeah.
why I'm trying to get to like the root of like what it does for us, or the
The other
dreaming
th
part.
right. The
Yeah.
other thing is, and this is a weird I don't know if I believe this, but my brother was a high jumper, and he had the high jump record at high school for about 15 years, 6'4", he jumped 6'4", and then, but he jumped higher down in college, but anyways. But the thing was you don't wanna wear out your left leg, he jumped off his left leg, you go over a Fosbury flop, the backward thing. You only have so many jumps in your leg, man. Just don't abuse it. And
Right.
we would translate that to drinking where you only have so many drinks in your body, so don't abuse it. But don't my thing is don't waste a drink on a subpar location. So I'm not gonna go to have a
Yes.
martini at a biker bar. I'm not gonna do
Right.
that. I'm
Right.
gonna and now I've cut down where I just wanna be able to, continue to drink through my 70s, once in a while, so I don't want to abuse it. So if I have a martini now, it's pretty special. I'll
I
pro
I
yeah.
understand that. I
Yeah,
understand
one a
that.
week, and then I think to myself, "Holy crap, pressure on this bartender. I haven't had a martini in a week. You better
Oh,
make a good
yeah.
one," you know?
Do you have to ever guide do you guide them? Are you like, or
There
you
was
let
a
them? Mhm.
I just say ice cold, because they'll put some ice chips on the top just because it's so cold. I
Yeah.
think you can call that bruising the vodka, which is fine.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
but the only tricky part really is if you're gonna ask for a little vermouth, which I do sometimes, and a couple times I've gotten too much vermouth, and then it kinda ruins it for me, you
Oh, I
know?
get that. I get
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So I don't yeah.
So going back to this dreaming thing that you were talking
Yes.
about walking, about having your coffee, having the music on in a certain way. This is sort of touching on, I think, what I feel when I have my alone time, which I need a lot of. It's because that is when I feel like I am my most creative, even if it is a dinner, even if I am out, even if I'm in the world, there's a feeling of like giving myself an experience that inspiration can come from that no matter
Mhm.
what. Like
Yeah.
whether it's your coffee and your music in the morning, I feel like you are very like, between that, the martini, the way you like to watch a movie. There's like a whole you're touching on a feeling, and then when you said you were walking and that's when you dream and sort of ideas come with you, or come to you, or projects that you're working on. Do you feel that you can get to that place, that sort of magical? I think this is why people meditate. I'm not a big meditator, but I do believe that this is sort of that's the place we are trying to get to when we're in
Mhm.
our dream state, and when we're open,
Right.
that inspiration can kind of flow in. and we can pull from that. Like I for me, it fills the bucket. It fills the bucket for me in a way that like all the creative juices can flow when I am in that kind of a when I am in that kind of a flow. I sometimes feel like I struggle, and this might just be a whole other podcast, but like I struggle with achieving that same space when I'm on a walk with someone else, when I
Oh,
am
yes.
at a thing
Oh,
with someone else.
absolutely.
Not even conversing, not even, but just that it's very specific to having that time alone.
Multiple questions. Number 1, I don't know if I asked you this on my podcast. Are you an only child or not?
No, I have 2 brothers.
Okay, okay. Why very interesting when you said you don't meditate. Craigers doesn't meditate. He's not opposed to it.
Same.
Years and years ago, I was teaching comedic traffic school. This is hilarious. When I was out of
Oh, I
college in
heard
my early
about this.
20s,
Yeah.
and I just remember it would be like 26 students. This is you get a speeding ticket on PCH in Malibu, you gotta go to 8 hours of traffic school, and it was comedic traffic school, and I'd have everybody say, "Hi, I'm Maggie, I'm an actress, I was speeding in Beverly Hills, and I'm a traffic violator." Like, "I'm an
Mhm.
alcoholic, I'm a traffic violator." I would have everyone
Mhm.
say this. They'd say what they did, and the guy says, "Hi, I'm in a band, and I was speeding and blah blah blah." I go and I would follow up and say, "Oh, what kind of music? What's the band?" "Well, it's called Devo." "Oh, like a knockoff of the Devo band?" He goes, "No, I'm in Devo. I'm in the band Devo."
Wow.
It was really funny. But
That's great.
there was a guy, and it was his job. This was late 80s. His job was to, I guess, witness to people and convert them to do TM,
Yeah.
transcendental meditation.
Yeah.
And he says, "It really helps you, Craig. You'd be great." And I never did it. And then I hear that, I don't know if it was Seinfeld or Howard Stern or even Clint Eastwood that they all do TM, but I do this on I do it on my Instagram. I go, I do a long exhale for comedic purposes. I'm exhaling and I'm at peace. But why don't you
I
meditate?
love that. I
Have you tried
I've
it?
seen some of your Instagram, by the way. I love it. I feel like your Instagram is very much about like food, martini, nature. I feel like it very, you know what? I feel like it's very you.
Mhm.
Where I feel like a lot of people have, Instagram is putting forward a version of them they want to be seen or that,
Right.
whatever. I feel like yours is very authentic. Why don't I? Oh, just because I've never, it's so funny you mentioned TM because I have a friend who does this every day. I have several actually, and they have said to me as well, like this is something I think based on what you talk about and how you work, dream, whatever, that you should be doing or get into. And to say, I haven't even tried it. So and I'm very
Oh.
curious and I want to. So this isn't like a I don't meditate because it's not for me. I'm like, no, I actually want to know more about it if it is something that based on what I talk about and how I dream and how I get to ideas and whatever, if this is uh a way also I can get very like not time management, but sometimes I really don't want to be on my phone at all. Like I'm very bad at getting back to people in certain amounts of time. I'm not like I used to be a really great texter. I feel like I'm not anymore. I feel like it almost like it takes me out of whatever space I want to be in, the constant like looking at it. And so I've had people say TM, even just for a little amount every day, can really help with like
Mm.
balancing all these things that kind of put you in that like I'm just annoyed and over the top very quickly. But so I'm not a meditator, not because I've tried it and it's not for me, just it's something that I haven't totally dived into yet. And I feel
Right.
like when I hike or when I walk, it is sort of what I think a meditation is, like especially if I'm in the dirt, like especially if I'm on a hike, especially if
Mhm.
I'm and there aren't a lot of people around, like that's when I really feel like
Yeah.
I really kind of step into whatever that is. But man, if there was a way to tap into it quickly like that and sitting in my office, I would love to learn. So yeah,
Do you sleep well?
pretty well.
Okay.
Maybe a little less lately, but I I love again, this interview turned around. He's
Well,
interviewing
I
me
just
now.
it's just part of
What?
a conversation.
No,
You just,
I know, I know. Yeah, I feel like just lately, my sleep hasn't been as great. And I
okay,
used to be like, I used to say a lot, like, I love that I don't have sleep issues. And I feel like
right,
I jinxed it a little
right.
bit. Why do you ask?
When I was working in late night, I sleep pretty well. I like my 8 hours, but it gets interrupted sometimes. I go hard 4 hours. It's, like, deep, and I go to bed early, 9-ish, sometimes 8:30, I'll fall asleep. It's great. But I
Well,
wake
you
up
said
or
hard 4 hours, like that's all you sleep?
no, no, I go hard
Oh,
4 hours, and I wake up, I go, "Oh, god, did that feel good."
oh yeah.
That felt
Yeah.
good. That felt
Yeah.
really good. And then it
Yeah.
might take me an hour or 2 to get back to sleep because the agile mind is alive.
Yeah.
And I had this when I was working, there was this guy who was a malcontent, and um,
Okay.
I would say, "I didn't get my 8 hours," and he was like, "Why? You don't sleep well? What's wrong?" Like, he was thinking it was like there was some trouble, and I said, "No, no, I have an exciting life, and it's sometimes hard for me to shut down at night because I just interviewed Clint Eastwood, and then I went to Mastro's with Dennis Farina, and then,
Oh,
things are happening, and I gotta shut down and go to sleep here. Life is exciting." So sometimes people might not sleep because life is so exciting, and I do look forward to the coffee in the morning. It's a
me
special time.
too.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
I can spend I will Craig, I will wake up, let's say I have a 5:30 call time.
yeah,
I will wake up at 4, 3:30 or 4.
yeah,
Good quality time to sleep for my
yeah,
day.
yeah,
But it's more important for me to have that hour and a half of quiet, my coffee the way I like to make it, and not rush that experience.
mhm,
That's what I think meditation. It's like this is what I mean when I think when I associate what people talk about with meditation, I think about it like that. It's like, oh, this is the hour and a half that I give myself every morning that I need no matter what. I don't care
mhm,
how early the call time is. It just means I'll go to bed that much earlier the night before
right.
so that I can have that ritual, that time that's just for me in the morning because it makes, yeah.
Do you ever do, I sometimes do. I won't put it in the form of a question, I'll just say it. I'll so it's not like I'm going I sometimes so I sleep pretty well. I used to sleep great. I sleep well. I love sleep. I don't have to get up by a certain time because I
Mm,
have a kind of I have no stress in my life. But I will sometimes take a valerian root. I'll take a little
mhm.
valerian,
I've heard
and
that's
once in a
good.
while, I'll take a melatonin. But, no, I sleep and I take naps occasionally if I don't get my solid 8 hours. But, I love my sleep. It's very healing, obviously, you know?
It is. It's also when we, all those things. Are you like a dream person? Do you ask yourself a question? Do you ask for anything before you go to sleep? They say sometimes if you sort of just say to the universe or yourself, like, oh, I kind of would like some clarity on this, and welcome your dreams to bring that into you.
I haven't done that. I dream about things I want to accomplish, but I don't
Hmm.
ask a question like, "I need clarity on this." When I'm awake, I think about different strategies or whatever. But, no, I don't remember all my dreams. I assume everyone's dreams are pretty crazy and creative and fluid, you'll be in a room and there'll be a lion that turns into a Maserati, and then
Hmm.
it's a thing, everything changes. I
Do you have a dog? Do you have a
No,
pet?
I had a golden retriever, and we had to
Oh, we
put
talked
him
about that.
down. We had
That's
to
right.
put him down when I was in high school. They actually got the dog my parents got the dog when we moved from New Jersey to Hastings, Minnesota, and my brother and sister were in school, and I was not yet in kindergarten. They said, "You're a little lonely, so we got you a golden retriever." And then we had to put him down after, he lived to be a long I was in high school, I think, when we put him down. And then I've been loyal to him ever since. I'm gonna make a comment on a dog.
Hold on. By the
No, did I
way,
did I did I tell you last time, about the dogs that I like or not? Oh, yeah, I did. I told you I like
wait,
an
what did you tell me?
Airedale. Remember, you know what
Oh,
an
I
Airedale
love
looks like? Yeah,
Airedales.
yeah.
I love them.
Kind of
They're
a black
very,
and
very
tan color
special.
there with the yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, no, I can I tell you though, I think like what people like therapy that is therapy for me is a night where I give myself a dinner, a treat or whatever. And I do it regularly. It's not like, oh, this is some special occasion that happens once or twice a year, but it can set my whole week off in like a nice way. Go on.
Can I
Yeah.
ask you kind of an obvious question that's not that clever, but I just wanted to know. When you're,
Yeah.
I get dressed up when I go out by myself.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get dressed up, but
Yeah.
how do you handle, guys, trying to chat you up and you're not
We
interested? What do you do?
we did talk about that. I love that you've specified not interested because, you would chat if you are, but, no, I don't necessarily get I don't well, that's not true. I get ready. I would say maybe I'm not like getting super crazy, like I'm going out in this outfit tonight because I'm going to this bar and I know the people that no, this is like all for me. So for me, it's like, do I, it's a little warm out. I don't feel like putting on heels tonight. So I'm gonna wear something that looks good with flats and I'm gonna like, I just want to be comfortable at the bar, but I
Mhm,
also like, I want to feel uh like a really good version of myself.
mhm.
Like my best
Yeah,
version, but doesn't necessarily have to be all glammy and whatnot. So yeah, I don't just like go out and I don't just leave and go eat and I feel gross. That to me, I can't do. I have a hard time doing that in my own like home. Like if
right,
I've been out hiking or doing anything, like I must change, I must shower, I must like
right.
going. I think that might be some of my Kentucky roots too. There was something about like dinner time had a like, or maybe that's just in general, but
Yeah,
yeah.
because I only hear you talk about dinner like you've
Mm.
never gone out for lunch or anything, like you don't even eat lunch. It's just
Can I tell
coffee and
you?
then it's dinner. What's that?
It kind of is. I'm like more of a grazer. I am not a big lunch person. I am
Okay,
not a big brunch person. So
okay.
yeah, I like that part of my day. If no, I'd rather have coffee and like get to happy hour.
Right, right.
Early dinner. Um,
Do you think you eat healthy in general?
yeah, I do think I eat pretty
Good.
healthy. But I also like I don't deprive myself when I go out to eat. I'm not thinking like, "Oh, let me not get that. That's going to be too heavy." I'm like, if
Right,
I'm at a place like Marvin that has some of the most incredible pasta, if I'm at Little Dom's that has my one of my favorite like I'm getting what I want to
mhm,
eat. So
okay.
but during the day, sometimes I will if I know I'm eating. Oh my god, this is turning into like a food podcast. But if I but this is a very important part of our me time. Wait, I'm going to go back to the other thing. I am a savage at a bar. Is it a savage? I am savage. If I don't want to talk,
Yeah.
you will know. I
Oh,
am not I'm not it's not that I'll do like the nice thing once of just like, "Hey, thank you. I'll converse for a second. I'm not gonna be like, 'Don't talk to me.'" But if
right,
there's like a little back and forth, if I see that it's like continuing and I feel it kind of encroaching on my me time, I'll say, "Have a great meal." I'll sort of give a sign off to like signal that I'm gonna go back to my meal and what I'm doing. And if
right,
that doesn't work,
right.
um, I may just start to ignore.
I didn't by the way, I did not ask you this on my podcast. I didn't say, "How do you handle the guys
Yeah,
that you're not interested in?" I think I did a joke about you can leave with any guy you wanted to if you wanted to. I did a positive thing
that's
of you can
nice.
have your selection because I'm just a nice guy and I throw out a lot of compliments. That
I
that
that is nice
ficus plant is so beautiful. It is growing on me and it's literally growing in front of us.
as we speak. It's like a little halo. No, that's very sweet of you to say. And I understand, like, it's not, I think we talked about this as well, like how it is more, I don't know if acceptable is the right word, but just it's more common in New York. I feel like than it is in LA. I feel like seeing a woman eating alone in LA is kind of a rare thing. I
Mhm.
also do think sometimes people associate it with an invitation
Yep.
to say something because I'm eating alone, and therefore because of that, I have signaled that I
Mhm.
maybe
Yep,
am there
available,
to
right.
pick up someone or do something, and it's like, no, I really just want to have a great meal, and I want to take in every moment of it just for myself. It's like traveling alone. I feel like when we have these experiences alone, and I don't like bringing someone into that is also wonderful, but I have to have both. Like
Yeah,
even if I have someone in my life and we are doing that, then I still need to have a night where
right.
I can yeah. And it doesn't have to be at a bar. I don't mean that. I just mean like
Sure.
I still need to have maybe a couple days for a me time trip. I
Yeah.
got to do that. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if you feel that way. I know you mentioned a partner, but like if do you still create have to have your Craig time
Yeah.
balanced
And I
with
get my
yeah,
Craig time.
yeah,
And, it's the funny
yeah.
thing is, when, Princess Cherry and I take a road trip, Um,
Princess Cherry.
like, I think I may have told you this. Did I tell you, uh well, the last time I was in Carmel, so Carmel is my favorite place in the
Ah,
world. I used to live there, and I sadly had to go up, this summer because a friend of mine had passed away, and he
I'm
had
sorry.
really sad great he was in great shape. He was a doctor in great shape, and he had pancreatic cancer, and it was, couldn't believe it. Just the sweetest man. He was 73, I think, and came out of nowhere. So I had to go up for an event, and speak there at a celebration of Dr. Bob. His name was Dr. Bob Morale, great, great man. I knew him since local TV in Monterey when I worked there as a sports guy. He was
Mm,
on camera. And so, afterwards, it was at 11 AM, and then I already had my favorite restaurant, L'Escargot, booked for that night because I wasn't gonna go the night before I had to speak. And
mm.
then I said to Princess Cherry, "I'm gonna go have a drink by myself," and she's like, "Of course you are. Great, go. I'll meet you at the restaurant." And
Oh,
didn't I tell you this or not?
I
Did
don't
this ring
think
a
so.
bell?
No, we
Maybe
were
it's
gonna
so
get into road trips because we actually said we almost need like another podcast to get into some other topics because we touched on a
well,
few,
here's
but go
what's
on.
funny.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell it, it's almost done, but people, if they listen to both podcasts, they'll say, "He told it on both podcasts and Maggie didn't remember this," but it's okay if
Wait,
you don't.
I think
I don't know if
maybe,
I told this story. I don't know if I told the story.
you
So,
didn't tell it in the way that was like,
yes,
Princess Cherry said, "Go do your thing and I'll
right.
meet you there." Like, we weren't specifically talking about, like, how we have me time in
Okay.
partnership. Yeah, yeah,
So here's what happens. I go so there I'm gonna go to my favorite restaurant, L'Escargot. Carrie Lutis is the chef owner. I've known him for years. Great French restaurant. But first, there is a, auberge. There are these special
the
hotels. Is it
resorts, yeah.
Yes, the resorts, and they have a special restaurant there that I've never been, but I just like to go to the building, the hotel and have a drink. And I was all dressed up. It was probably, 4:30 or 5, nice weather, and I walk around the corner to get to the hotel, past the Doris Day Hotel, the Cypress Inn, for those of you who know Carmel. And
Yeah.
across the street is this legendary chef who is I think it's called Aubergine or something is the name of the
Mhm.
restaurant. Oh, is that, yeah?
I think I've heard of this. Yeah, yeah.
And he's in his smock, and his helpers are all there, and they're just sitting there before the big night. They're just resting before they
Mhm.
walk back into the hotel. They're just chilling out. And I see him across the way, and I am so fired up to have a martini now after the stressful day. I go
Yeah.
I give him one of these, and he just starts laughing. And I go in there and I walk in, it's a small little bar, the restaurant's to the side, and the concierge says, "Can I help you?" I go, "I'm having a martini." Like, I was a little aggressive. I go, "I'm
Mm,
having a martini." And they're,
mhm.
"I'll send someone to make you a martini, sir." Anyway, so I had my martini. It felt great. This really nice couple, sat down. We were just chatting. They had lived in Carmel, they were now somewhere else, they were blah, he's an author, I found out later, but long story short, I told him, I said, "Yeah, I'm in town because of this situation with my friend, but it's okay." And I go to L'Escargot, and the couple picked up my whole dinner. They called it in, and they bought me Princess Cherry and I, they
Oh
bought
my
me dinner
god.
because they said, "It was a rough day for you, Craig." And I said, "I owe you, and I'll get them a nice dinner the next time I see him in Carmel." You know what I'm saying?
Oh my god, I love that.
Yeah,
That's a great
but
story.
but the moment I have to sometimes have a drink by myself. I need it sometimes.
Can I tell you, I get it, and I think it's hard sometimes. I love that she understands that. I find that it is, I don't wanna bring gender into it, but I do feel like it's sometimes more understood when a man says, like, "I need to go have a moment and have this drink." And, for me, sometimes it's not like, "Oh, I have to go out and meet me." I can just be like, I need to pour a glass and sit on my balcony and look out at this view and not be, I'm going to enjoy this glass of wine alone.
Yeah,
There is something about going somewhere. And anyway, not that I struggle with it, explaining it to people. I think it is just harder sometimes for men to understand a woman that needs to do that than it
yeah,
is for a woman to understand a man that needs to do that. And
yeah,
even
and
though I think all the intention is the same, it's not like I'm trying to go and, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Does let me ask you, have you ever been to, as a guest, a private men's club where they have the paneled walls and had a drink at any of those places anywhere?
No, I don't think so. Like, I've been
Does
to,
that
like,
sound
cigar lounges,
ha
I've
you
been
you've
to
been to cigar lounges?
I've,
Do
like,
you like
popped in and met someone there and,
do
like,
you
seen
do you
yeah.
do you like that?
No, I don't need to I don't
Okay,
the cigar lounge vibe was not for me.
okay.
I haven't been in a gentleman's, uh
I'll
yeah,
tell
why?
you
Are
well,
yeah.
I'll tell you why, and it's one of those things where I have no desire. I've done it, and so it's potentially out of my system, but there was a time where I would never wanna be a member because I'd see the same people over and over again, but I get invited as guests. I just wanna tell you quickly because I like
Yeah.
these 2 lines. There's the California Club, which is downtown LA, and it's an
Uh-huh.
old conservative club, and then there's the Jonathan Club, which is
Oh,
a
yeah. I know the
you've heard of the
Jonathan
Jo
Club.
I've never been
Yeah.
to the Jonathan Club. If I wanted to go, obviously, I know people I could go. It's
Mhm.
downtown, it's also out in Santa Monica, Malibu, they have a place.
Mhm.
So downtown, you have the California Club, beautiful, famous architect building down there, great paneling, great they have a great deck where you can smoke cigars, have martinis, all this food, all these appetizers, different rooms for dining. And the Jonathan Club, they maybe a little younger and hipper, and these are the 2 lines that they say, and keep in mind that the California Club is considered more conservative than
Okay.
the Jonathan Club. The Jonathan Club, the members run LA. The members of the Jonathan Club run LA. The members of the California Club own LA.
Oh, come on. That's funny.
I just
There's
love
the
hearing that.
sigh.
I love hearing that. So
No,
imagine I've been to the California Club
need
twice having a martini, and it's like, this is great.
it's a very hard thing to understand when it's not associated with, you know, being in your 20s and going out to clubs and like hooking up and meeting people. It's literally like, I just want a good meal. I just want a good cocktail. I want to feel a certain way. And it's not about like doing anything else, being anything else. Like I had an ex who used to say, "You just want to go be catnip." And I'm
Ha,
like,
ha, ha, ha,
no,
ha,
I
ha.
I don't. I
Oh,
actually I'm not going for the attention. I'm going to have a moment for myself and eat a really good meal. So I would say, your Jonathan Club experience for me is like when I get the opportunity to travel, and I do try to when I travel, especially alone, I will make sure that I have the means to travel the way that I need to travel to feel as safe, comfortable, and whatever while I'm, traveling, especially alone. But in that, it's usually the hotel bar is one of my I love a hotel bar. Like I love when I'm traveling and what? I'm getting a lot of thumbs up.
no, I
Like,
love it's like, we were years ago, my brother and I, he came up he was living in Chicago, and we came into Minneapolis, St. Paul, where we were from the Twin Cities, and I wasn't sure where we were gonna stay, and we went to St. Paul where my dad used to work. F. Scott Fitzgerald, who wrote The Great Gatsby, grew up on Summit
yes,
Avenue, and we went to the St. Paul Hotel, and I said he wanted to see it, it's 100 years old, and we went in the lobby, and he goes, "Let's stay here. I love a lobby bar. I love a hotel lobby bar. I love hotel lobby bars.
give me your favorite. Do you have a favorite?
I don't know if I do. Now, the Polo Lounge is not a
Oh,
lobby bar, but I
mhm.
used to go to the Polo Lounge after work all the time, and I don't go much anymore. It's kinda weird how, things change where you go.
Yeah.
Trying to think of what I like.
Have you been to the
W
Mayborn yet or
Okay, so I used to
Dante?
go there. Yeah, it was
Okay.
what was it called before? The
Before,
Montage.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
the
right.
Montage.
Uh-huh.
So I used to go there all the time. That was a nice vibe. That was
Yeah.
a nice vibe.
Actually, we had lunch. One of our lunches was, I mean, it wasn't at the
Okay,
bar, but
that place used to be I liked it before they renovated it. It used to be called the writer's room, and they had a tight little
that's right.
carpet and everything, and that's, called, Le
The
Meritage?
Meritage.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a nice little spot, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
it's
that
not
place a
bad.
lot.
Do you have a favorite one? I'm not thinking of anyone right now.
I don't know, I used to love old like, again, I feel like as 'cause I'm traveling, like, that's when I experienced it the most. Although I will say I love the old school, like, Santa Monica. I love the Casa del Mar or, like, the
Yes,
Shutters.
yes,
I love the Mastros in Malibu. It's
okay,
ridiculous, but I
right.
love that vibe. But I feel like because it's hotel bars, it's usually when I'm traveling. I loved the do you know the Ferndale hotels, like the Ham Yard and the Crosby and the Whitby in New York?
I
Um,
don't.
I would say the Whitby is probably like one of my favorite hotels in the whole
Oh,
world.
that sounds cool.
And the Ham Yard in London is very similar. They're just, I feel like they get so many. It feels like a boutique hotel, but it's run like anyway. Their bars are
Right.
very special.
So 3 things. It's closed now. It was the Biltmore in Santa Barbara, and
Oh
I used to
yes,
go there,
beautiful.
loved it, so stunning.
Yes, that's a
Old
good one.
Spanish. Yeah, yeah. In then I was in London in the '90s. I wish I have to go back, and I wanna go to the Savoy because I like the pictures of it in the bar there, and there's some in Paris that I've been to Paris, but I wanna go now that I'm older, I'm gonna go to different places, just like so
Right.
in San Francisco, I mentioned my favorite place is called the Big Four Restaurant and Bar. It's on Nob Hill. It's in the Huntington Hotel, which is currently closed, but it's got new ownership. It's gonna reopen. It's near the Fairmont and the Mark Hopkins. And then I think I may have mentioned this on my podcast, the St. Regis Hotel in New York with the, King Cole Bar,
Oh
which
yes,
has a big mural on it, and
yep.
it's kind of a small bar, and they claim they invented the Bloody Mary there, and it's a nice place, and I was there
That
in the
is.
'90s, and Alec Baldwin was sitting nearby smoking a cigar because you could smoke back then in the '90s in a
You
bar.
did tell this story.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
See, I remember.
Thank
And I
God.
talked about Teresi in New York. Another, by the way, it's a newer restaurant, but it
Yeah,
is, talk about a great bar.
yeah,
And so easy for a solo to get a, I mean, it's very hard to get a reservation there, but you can
yeah.
walk right into the bar, especially one off. Okay, three things you cannot live without, right now. Just right now. It doesn't have to be like in life or whatever. It's just like right now, Craig. What are like three things in your day that you cannot live without?
Well, I was gonna say, I kinda repeated, like, I have to have my coffee in the morning. There's 3 things: my club chair, coffee, Bill Evans music, so peaceful. I'm
Yeah,
in heaven, I'm in heaven.
yeah.
I was gonna say, I we all have our little hobbies and stuff. So the NBA season, I'm an NBA fan, and I watch every regular season game of my Minnesota Timberwolves. So it's NBA League Pass. I have
Love.
to watch that. I have it down to an art where I'll turn it off. You're not gonna bring me down if you're playing poorly. I'll just turn it off, and I'll go watch 3 Days of the Condor with Robert Redford from 1973.
Oh, I
You're
love
not
that.
crush my vibe, man.
Yeah,
What was that expression about, something harsh my vibe? That was it.
harsh, I don't know. Is
Don't
that
harsh
something
my
that
vibe. Don't harsh
something
my
that kids
vibe.
say? Yeah.
A third thing. So, let's see. I love my nap, sleep, walking. Yeah, there's not a lot I need because I'm just so grateful for the simple things in life. I'll just say good night's sleep. I need a good night's sleep. I need my Bill Evans in the morning, and I need my NBA League Pass currently. Yeah.
I love this. So Craig Kilborn to have a good day and fill the tank, and his me time, his classic right now, what he cannot live without are the Timberwolves the league pass, his Bill Evans, his chair, and his coffee in the morning, and a good night's sleep.
That's it.
That's
That's
like, these sound like the keys to life, honestly. I've had a couple people talk about sports being their me time, and I kind of love it. I want to incorporate a little more of that into the
Well,
podcast
it's also
podcast.
if you don't do it right, it's depressing and it puts you in a funk. Like when the Minnesota Vikings win, the coffee tastes better on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday because they won on Sunday. So your week you can't have it control you quite that much. Also, just to let you
That's
know,
true.
I do watch a show. I think I told you I watch Bosch.
Oh,
It's blue collar, but I love it. They shoot around LA and all the bars we've been to and restaurants, the Dantanas, Musso and Frank, etc.
oh.
And it's coming out October 20th, 4 days. I guess
Is
that's
that like
fine.
your binge show is that like what you look forward to?
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, we like it. It's now Bosch Legacy. It was Bosch when he was a cop, and then he retired, and now he's a private investigator.
Oh,
Mimi Rogers is a lawyer in it. She's good. Yeah, that'll be fun.
that'll be fun. That'll be great. That'll be another, if this were in a couple weeks, I'd be like three things you can't live without right now. And you'd be like,
Bosch
gosh.
Legacy. Yeah.
Bosch legacy, yo. I could talk to you on this. Thank you for getting so in like specific about me time. I really do feel like you're kind of an expert, a king on it. So I have experts on occasionally because part of my me time is learning from people. And it's weird because this podcast is called Me Time. I feel like I'm good at it, but I actually think you're better.
Can I say
So
something funny?
yeah.
So I've said to some of my friends, and they're I guess they might describe themselves as spiritual. And I said some of my positive beliefs, and they say, that's like Buddhism right there, what you just said. Like,
Mhm.
it's I'm patting myself on the back, which I'm comfortable doing, but
Yeah,
some of my instincts are very good with, the positive energy we need in life and not being negative and not being, my big word with people I worked with was bitter. A lot of bitter people. Don't be bitter. Be grateful, you
right.
know?
I think that's beautiful, and you mentioned that when I did your podcast as well, and I when you talk about dreaming, you talk about being creative, and you talk about what you do to be in those spaces, it is I would put that in my, like, spiritual practice
Mhm.
category just because that is what it is to me. It
Mhm.
feels almost like a religious practice that I
Yep.
have to do to feel like that. But you've hit the nail on the head because that is what it is, I think, supposed to do for us. We can't be good in relationships. We can't help heal the world. We can't help heal through art. We can't do anything if we ourselves are on empty and, as you said, bitter or living in a space of, resentment or content, just that darkness. And
Yep.
so it might feel selfish to take that time to some people to take that time for yourself, but I think what you're really doing is you're taking care of the main thing you need to be in the world and be good for anything else. I think you are. I think you do have a very kind of Buddhist way about you
Thank
without
you.
trying. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you,
Anyway,
Maggie.
this got real. This got real. We got real on me time today. Craig, thank you so much. We've taken a lot of your time and I really, really appreciate it. I very much enjoyed talking to you. So
Thank you,
it was
Maggie.
very nice. Have a
I
wonderful week. Not getting sick. I actually feel better. So we probably could have done it. But
You
you
look
know what?
great. You look
Why?
you look great.
Thanks. That's all I care